The DNA doesn't lie. The uncaught serial killer of Brockton, MA. Act 1. The discovery on North Quincy Street. The winter air in Brockton, Massachusetts, on December 28, 2014, was biting and bitter. A local resident was out walking his dog along North Quincy Street, a stretch of road lined with thick, overgrown woods just behind the local VFW post. It was a secluded area, the kind of place easily ignored by passing traffic. Suddenly, the dog caught a scent, pulling its owner deep into the brush. There, hidden among the frozen leaves and bare trees, lay a nightmare. The walker stumbled upon human remains. When Massachusetts State Police and Plymouth County detectives arrived, they secured the perimeter, expecting to process a single crime scene. But as forensic investigators carefully began to examine the frozen ground, they realized the horror was doubled. They weren't looking at one body, they were looking at two. And the way they were positioned sent a chill through the investigators that had nothing to do with the winter weather. Act 2. Two lives stacked in the brush. The bodies were stacked directly on top of one another. The killer hadn't just used these woods as a dumping ground. He had returned to the exact same hidden coordinates, months apart, confident he wouldn't be caught. On top lay the remains of 20-year-old Ashley Milett. She was a young mother, described by those who loved her as sweet and full of life, but she had fallen into a vulnerable existence, battling drug addiction on the streets of Brockton. She had been missing for only a few weeks. The killer had brutally murdered, mutilated, and dismembered her body before leaving her in the brush. Beneath Ashley lay the skeletal remains of 50-year-old Linda Schufelt. Linda was a mother of 5 who had been missing since the summer, roughly 6 months earlier. Because of the timeline and the elements, Linda's cause of death could not be easily determined, but the placement of her body told the police everything they needed to know. The media immediately began to whisper about a serial killer. The public feared a conspiracy or a police cover-up, but behind closed doors, authorities didn't need to guess. They were about to get the forensic proof. Act 3. The Unbreakable genetic link. When the crime lab processed the evidence from the North Quincy Street dumping site, they isolated an unknown male DNA profile. Investigators uploaded the genetic sequence into CODIS, the National Offender Database, hoping for a name. They didn't get a name, but they got something just as explosive. The DNA hit on 3 separate, unsolved open cases in the police files. Between 2013 and early 2014, 3 different women had been violently raped and assaulted in Brockton. They had survived, but their attacker had never been caught. Now science proved it was the exact same man. This wasn't an internet rumor. It was a forensically verified serial predator who had escalated from sexual assault to serial murder. The profile of the victims was identical. He was hunting a specific, vulnerable demographic, women struggling with substance abuse and performing survival sex work along the Brockton corridors. He targeted women he believed society would not look for. One surviving victim later spoke out, recalling her terrifying encounter just weeks before the bodies were found. She described a brutal struggle, stating with absolute certainty that she only survived because she fought back with everything she had. She was the one who got away. Act 4. The case chronology, 2013, present. To understand how this predator operated, we have to look at the exact chronological timeline of his known crimes. He moved through the shadows of Brockton for nearly 2 years before anyone realized he existed. Mid-2013, the predator strikes for the first time. Operating in the high-crime corridors of Brockton, he targets a vulnerable woman involved in the street-level sex trade. He violently assaults and rapes her, but she survives. DNA evidence is collected by police, but yields no matches in the national database. Late 2013 to early 2014, the attacker strikes twice more using the exact same playbook. 2 more women are subjected to brutal, life-threatening sexual assaults. They escape with their lives, leaving behind fragments of the attacker's DNA. Brockton police realize a dangerous rapist is on the loose, but the true scope of his escalation remains hidden. Late spring 2014, the predator's behavior completely escalates from sexual violence to murder. June 2014, 50-year-old Linda Shufelt vanishes from the streets of Brockton. A mother of 5 who struggled with severe substance abuse, her sudden absence does not immediately trigger massive search efforts, giving the killer a head start. He transports her to the woods behind the North Quincy Street VFW, murders her, and conceals her body. Fall 2014, the killer returns to his hunting grounds, completely emboldened by his success. December 2014, 20-year-old Ashley Milett disappears. Unlike Linda, her disappearance quickly raises alarms among her loved ones. Within weeks of her vanishing, the killer takes her to the exact same spot in the woods, brutally dismembers her body, and stacks her directly on top of Linda's hidden remains. December 28, 2014, a dog walker discovers the stacked bodies. The investigation officially begins, and the forensic link between the 2 murders and the 3 previous rapes is established. 2015, 2017, the trail abruptly goes dead. No new victims fitting the profile are found, and the DNA does not flag any new hits. The task force fears the killer has moved, changed his identity, or is locked up on an unrelated charge. April 2018, desperate for a breakthrough, Plymouth County District Attorney Timothy Cruz partners with Paraben Nanolabs. They utilize cutting-edge DNA phenotyping to construct a composite sketch of the suspect based purely on his genetic markers. Present day, the Brockton monster remains unidentified. The DNA profile sits active in every state and federal database, waiting for a match. Act 5, Hunting a Ghost. Because the killer's DNA wasn't in the database, he had likely never been convicted of a felony in Massachusetts. The genetic snapshot created by Paraben Nanolabs revealed the face of a ghost. The science proved the killer is a male of African ancestry, with a light brown complexion, brown eyes, and short black hair. FBI profilers who joined the task force determined he was almost certainly a local, someone who knew the backroads, the culture, and the secluded hiding spots of Brockton intimately. After the discovery in December 2014, the trail abruptly went cold. The assaults stopped. The bodies stopped appearing. Where did the Brockton monster go? Investigators believe a serial killer like this rarely stops on his own. He may have been arrested and locked up for an unrelated, non-felony crime. He may have fled the state, or he may even be dead. But to this day, his DNA sits in a lab, waiting for a match, while the families of Ashley Milett and Linda Shufelt still wait for justice. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and leave your comment down below what you thought. Is there really a potential serial killer out there in Brockton, Massachusetts? Is it just a coincidence? What do you think? Thanks for watching.